The American dream is becoming increasingly elusive for many hardworking Americans. In Second Class, journalist Batya Ungar Sargon amplifies the voices of working-class Americans from diverse backgrounds and professions. She highlights their struggles and aspirations, exploring the impact of stagnant wages, the decline of manufacturing jobs, and the shift to a service economy. Ungar Sargon also examines the challenges posed by globalization, immigration, and rising prices. She emphasizes the need for vocational training, union support, effective border policies, and fair wages, issues that neither major political party fully addresses for the working class. The working class. 4:15 a.m. Gord Magel begins his 13-hour workday in his truck. He drives to pick up lumber, a job he loves for its solitude. Gord prefers trucking over construction work, which involves dealing with people. Gord previously worked for a large corporation, but left due to poor treatment and excessive surveillance. He now works for a small operation, hauling wood to mills. Although he works long hours, Gord and his wife, Jenna, a schoolteacher, struggle financially. They each make about $50,000 per year, just enough to cover bills, but not enough to save for a home. Bacolde, 42, had all her teeth pulled out because of an infection after getting COVID and then congestive heart failure. It's $50,000 for implants, and only one local dentist will take her Medicaid. She's been waiting 6 months to get in. She drives for DoorDash, cleans houses, and babysits to make ends meet. Her rent is $1,000, but she and her husband, who also drives for DoorDash, only bring in about $1,300 a month. That leaves $300 for everything else, so she has to choose which bills to pay. Nicole wants better job opportunities, not charity. Doug Tansey, a 45-year-old native Alaskan, is an electrician in Fairbanks. Thanks to his union, he and his wife, Christine, who stayed home to raise their 5 children, live comfortably. Doug believes in the importance of unions and the trades, which offer security and good wages. He wishes more people had access to these opportunities. Gord, Nicole, and Doug are part of America's working class. They work jobs that don't require a college degree and aren't in the top 20% of income. Doug lives a middle-class life with homeownership and upwardly mobile children. Gord can pay bills but has no savings, and homeownership is a distant dream. Nicole teeters on the edge of poverty. The American working class is diverse, making it hard to define who they are and whether they can achieve the American dream. They work longer hours and produce more GDP, but their wages have stagnated. Profits and productivity have risen by 200% since 1965, but wages only increased by 1%. Manufacturing jobs, which once provided good wages and benefits, have declined. The North American Free Trade Agreement of 1994 accelerated the loss of industrial jobs, favoring workers in other countries and decimating American communities. The shift to a service economy and the influx of immigrants willing to work for less have further impacted wages. Investors and speculators, who make up a small percentage of the population, now control most of the wealth. While globalization has made some goods cheaper, the cost of homes, healthcare, and education has skyrocketed. Home prices have doubled since 1970. Healthcare costs have risen from 5% to 20% of GDP, and college tuition has increased by 3%. A college degree now often determines economic stability. College-educated Americans earn significantly more over their lifetimes and are more likely to achieve the middle-class marker of homeownership. The class divide is stark, with college-educated individuals faring much better than those without degrees. Some without degrees do live middle-class lives, while others struggle. For example, Patrick, an NYPD detective, owns a home and supports his daughter in college. In contrast, Amy, a nurse's aide, and Maria, a home health aide, struggle with low wages and high costs. There are 3 different segments of the working class: rising, floating, and struggling. Rising workers like police officers and electricians live middle-class lives with homeownership and retirement security. Floating workers, including CNAs and truckers, cover expenses but can't afford homes, especially in expensive metro areas. Struggling workers, like cashiers and waiters, face financial instability and high risks of crime and addiction. Homeownership rates differ by location, with higher rates in rural areas. The middle class is shrinking, and homeownership among service workers has declined, making the American dream elusive for many. The struggling segment. In the richest country on earth, many people work full-time yet remain poor. 4% of us workers earn $10 an hour or less, and many making $20,000 to $50,000 a year struggle to raise a family. The federal poverty level for a family of 3 is $23,000 a year, meaning many full-time workers are still poor. Millions rely on government assistance, with 70% of those receiving benefits working full-time, often in restaurants, department stores, and grocery stores. They often decline pay raises or more hours so they can keep essential government benefits, like health care for their children. They can't afford to fall off the benefits cliff. Economic hardship is isolating and often invisible. Many feel ashamed, creating a taboo around discussing their struggles. This silence benefits the better off, who prefer not to think about the difficulties faced by those who serve them. Kalissa, a 49-year-old teacher in Athens, Georgia, grew up in a stable middle-class home, but now lives with financial instability. At times, she has lived in shelters. She has 2 daughters and also cares for her 2 grandchildren. She has a degree and currently makes $48,000 a year, but she's supporting a family of 5. Most of her paycheck goes to rent. Corey Zech, a 37-year-old mother of 3, is homeless and living with her sister. She and her husband have bad credit and can't find a place to rent. Their income is insufficient to ensure a steady living, but it's too high to qualify for aid. To Corey, the American dream means owning a house and living comfortably without constant financial struggles. She wants to provide for her kids, take occasional vacations, and avoid relying on government assistance or borrowing from family and friends. She believes this is possible if she and her husband earn the median household income of $60,000 to $70,000 a year. However, she feels the American dream is harder to achieve for native-born Americans compared to immigrants. Kevin Nelson, a janitor in Anaheim, California, grew up in Compton with limited resources but a strong family support system. His mother was a nurse's aide and his stepfather was a social worker. At 18, he joined the military, which taught him responsibility and leadership. After leaving the military, he became a single dad. He started his own cleaning company during the COVID lockdowns, aiming to pay his workers fairly. Oshrat, a single mom in Rockville, Maryland, teaches Hebrew and drama, earning $44,000 a year. She struggles financially but managed to buy a home through a special loan program. She is resourceful, stretching her budget and relying on occasional help to make ends meet. Oshrat managed to graduate from college with minimal student loans, which are mostly paid off now. She studied computer science but prefers teaching. Returning to computers would mean more money but less time with her children, and she's not willing to sacrifice that. Oshrat tutors for extra income, but can't rely on it consistently. Oshrat grew up middle class but now considers herself working class. It's a challenge to maintain her home, and she lacks the stability of a middle-class life, especially without a retirement plan. Lucia works at Family Dollar in Brooklyn, making $15.50 an hour for 25 hours a week. She lives in public housing with her daughter and son. Her partner works in Albany, and her other son lives in New Jersey. Lucia's rent is a third of her income. Lucia considers herself working class and is frustrated with politicians and immigration policies. For her, the American dream means financial stability, paying rent without worry, and not having to choose between bills and groceries. The floating segment. Americans earning $20,000 to $80,000 a year face varying economic realities. Homeownership rates for this group dropped from 69% in 2000 to about 60% in 2021. Working-class Americans earned more than 20 years ago, but homeownership often remains out of reach due to high home prices. More than 80% of Americans earn at least $16 an hour, yet middle-class life is increasingly unaffordable. Many hardworking Americans cannot save for retirement due to housing and healthcare costs. Amy, a certified nurse's aide in South Florida, has worked at a nursing home for 33 years. She earns $22 an hour but struggles to save for retirement or secure a mortgage. Amy and her partner Janet, also a CNA, live in a small house and work multiple jobs to cover expenses. Their savings often go towards medical costs, leaving little for emergencies. Amy is the union delegate at her workplace, advocating for better wages and working conditions. She won a major increase in starting pay, but it's still hard to retain workers due to higher offers from temp agencies. The nursing home has been sold multiple times, each time worsening conditions. Understaffing is a major issue. Amy fights for residents' rights and better care. Amy supports hard work and believes in the American dream, but acknowledges the difficulties faced by the working class. Amy always votes for Democrats because she can't get meetings with Republicans who oppose unions. Without her union, she'd earn $10.40 an hour. Gord Mago, a trucker from Toronto living in Ithaca, New York, has driven trucks his whole life. His father left when he was young, forcing him to work multiple jobs to support his family. He started in a truck repair shop at 15 and eventually hauled steel, logs, and fertilizer. He met his wife, Jenna, in 2011, and they have 2 daughters. Though they earn $50,000 a year, they can't afford a home due to high real estate prices. They rely on Jenna's parents for childcare. Linda, from West Virginia, works for Amazon as a driver, earning $23 an hour. She was raised by her grandparents after her parents died, and she left school at 15 to raise her daughter. She doesn't want Amazon to unionize because that would mean more strikes and less work. Inflation has made life harder, and she believes both political parties have abandoned the working class. Her top voting priority is helping homeless veterans. She supports food stamps for low-income people, but opposes cash assistance, believing people should get another job if needed. Linda knows many hardworking people who still struggle. Her friend, a school bus driver with 3 kids, including one in college, can't make ends meet despite her husband working full-time. Linda has had to loan her money for food. Under Donald Trump, $200 lasted a month. Now it lasts 2 weeks. Prices for essentials like frozen pizza and hamburger meat have skyrocketed. Linda blames the Biden administration and corporations for the economic situation and politicians for ignoring the working poor. Linda dislikes politicians' focus on culture wars. She believes everyone should be self-supporting regardless of race or background. She believes LGBT matters are personal issues that should remain private. Linda supports her gay nephew and friends, seeing no issue with their lifestyle. She questions why empty houses in West Virginia aren't given to the homeless and why veterans and hardworking people don't get enough help. Linda's husband lost his job when his company made a move to China, forcing her to work 3 jobs. They lost their house after using their savings to save their dog. The current economic situation reminds her of those tough times. Jamie, a Home Depot manager in Vermont, started part-time and quickly rose to manager. He values hard work and believes the American dream is under threat due to government safety nets. Jamie sees a crisis in confidence and purpose among workers, leading to a lack of pride in their jobs. He believes the government should prioritize American workers and be transparent. Courtney, a Starbucks employee in Virginia, appreciates her job and the company's supportive environment. She feels Starbucks encourages her to succeed and provides good benefits. She enjoys making drinks and interacting with customers, feeling valued and cared for by her manager and the company. Courtney knows about efforts to unionize some Starbucks locations, but has mixed feelings about it. She thinks unions are good for protecting workers, but doesn't see the need for her location since she doesn't plan to stay long-term. She gets raises every 6 months and feels okay without a union. Courtney dreams of becoming a chef and might use the Starbucks college program to achieve that. She earns $16 an hour, which, combined with her boyfriend's income, covers their $1,500 rent and allows for savings. Courtney is happy renting and doesn't feel the need to own a home. She works 39 hours a week, qualifying for health insurance. The rising segment. Working-class Americans have different definitions of the American dream. For some, it means being able to cover bills with a bit extra for emergencies. For others, it's owning a home or having enough to retire. The cost of living varies, so income isn't the best measure of being middle class. For many Americans, being middle class is being able to buy a home. Middle-class Americans in this segment often do own their own homes. That includes about 80% of police and firefighters, 70% of skilled trades, and 63% of barbers. Skylar Adelta, a 29-year-old electrician, lives with his wife, Lauren, and their 2 children in Cincinnati. Skylar was once homeless, living in his car during high school. Lauren helped him, and they eventually married. Skylar worked at a paint factory, earning good money. He later switched to an electrical apprenticeship, seeking a meritocratic industry where skills matter more than a college degree. He quickly advanced to project manager and bought a home in a nice suburb. Schuyler worries about the working class. Young people are taught that without a college degree, they are doomed, leading to a shortage of skilled tradespeople. Needing a college degree for advancement is an arbitrary barrier that frustrates skilled workers. Schuyler believes the American dream is still achievable with hard work and competence, but the working class lacks advocates. Schuyler voted for Trump twice because he addressed working class concerns. Schuyler's faith in marriage motivated him to become a good provider, and he believes respect for the working class is crucial for the country's stability. Even in pricey New York, 61% of service industry workers own homes. Detective Patrick of the NYPD believes working-class people can achieve the American dream by working hard. Raised in the Bronx by a Haitian mother and an abusive stepfather, Patrick avoided trouble because he feared beatings. His friends got into trouble, but Patrick stayed out of it and eventually became a cop. Patrick graduated from Ithaca College and moved back to New York. He wanted to be a filmmaker, but ended up cutting hair and working at a library, where he met his future wife. Now a detective, he owns a home on Long Island and plans to retire soon to focus on creating enormous oil paintings. He has a daughter in college. He worries about the lack of effort to make the American dream attainable for the next generation and the contempt for police officers in mainstream culture. Patrick feels lonely and conflicted about how he is perceived in his community. While protests against police brutality occurred, Patrick was dealing with violent crimes in the Black community, which he finds undermines the protest messages. He sees crime today as a power trip rather than a result of poverty. Rory moved from Northern California to Vegas in 2015 with his girlfriend, now his wife. Before Vegas, they worked seasonal jobs in national parks and resorts. Rory often worked as a bellman for the tips. In Vegas, he got a job at the Flamingo. He started as a baggage handler and soon became a bellman. Rory likes his job and sees himself staying there long term. Rory makes about $15 an hour plus benefits, but tips can increase his earnings significantly. He bought a house in 2019 and supports his wife, who is in graduate school. At 39, Rory has achieved more than his parents, who never owned a home. In Vegas, many hospitality workers are homeowners, thanks to the union. Rory earns $10,000 more annually than non-unionized bellmen and has a stable schedule. The union helped with his house down payment, ensures that he has a pension, and provides family health care with no copays or deductibles. Eric grew up poor in Pittsburgh. His father was often unemployed and struggled with alcoholism. Eric decided to avoid his father's path and aimed for a union job. He applied to several unions but didn't have enough connections to land a spot. After 3 years, he got a job with an elevator company and eventually joined the elevator union. Now he makes $140,000 a year and lives modestly. Eric believes unions are crucial for escaping poverty. Benjamin West was a middle-class kid in Seattle until his parents' divorce. His mother took him to Arizona, where she worked as a substitute teacher. She didn't earn much, and they needed assistance from friends, family, and the government. He earned a college scholarship, but chose the military after 9/11. Ben served multiple deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan. Back home, PTSD and depression have tormented him. He also has neurological issues due to the blasts he experienced in the military. After reaching rock bottom, he found help from several programs. Ben remains grateful for living in the US, considering it the best country on earth. For Ben, the American dream means upward mobility through hard work and home ownership. He believes it's attainable, but increasingly difficult due to dishonest government actions and overreaching bureaucrats. When officials lie without consequences, it undermines the consent of the governed, a key part of the American dream. The middle class and home ownership are crucial for democracy, which relies on self-reliant citizens who trust their government. Kevin Harper, a Black man from Long Beach, California, moved to Carson, just 13 miles away from where he was raised, and crossed from working poor to middle class. He and his wife earn about $130,000 a year, own a home, and have paid off cars. Kevin spent 20 years in the military, which provided education and career stability. He faced racism, but also made lifelong friends who supported him. The Diploma Divide. Some working-class Americans have achieved the American dream with stable jobs, savings, and manageable healthcare costs. However, many struggle with homeownership, retirement, and rising living costs. Key issues are housing shortages, the impact of immigration on wages, and the benefits cliff. Nicole Day has always worked hard to support herself and her son. She has been a bartender and an office manager. Recently, finding a good job has become difficult because many require a college degree, even if the job doesn't require skills learned in college. Nicole often had to train her replacements who had degrees. She feels that intelligent people without degrees don't get the same opportunities. This class divide favors the college-educated, reserving the best jobs for them. Skylar Adelta, the Ohio electrician, faced this when he applied for a management position at a paint factory. Frustrated, Skylar left for the trades, where merit still matters. Vocational training used to be common in schools, but now the focus is on college. This shift was partly to mask the impact of globalization on the working class. President Barack Obama emphasized the need for a good education in a global economy, implying that lack of education was the reason for economic struggles. This emphasis on college created a divide, with college-educated jobs getting better pay and working-class jobs disappearing or paying less. Policymakers pushed everyone towards college, which didn't work for most people. The diploma divide left 2/3 of the country behind, affecting their economic and social worth. Degree inflation, when jobs unnecessarily require a college degree, worsened the situation. Some companies and states are now removing degree requirements for some jobs, offering more opportunities to those without a college education. Nicole believes this change could help people like her, who have experience but lack a degree. It's not just about eliminating the need for a college degree. It's about training Americans for jobs that lack enough workers. There's a big shortage in the skilled trades, and many working-class people need good jobs. Vocational training in high schools could help match workers with jobs. Federal and state governments spend $150 billion every year on higher education, but only $1 billion on career and technical education. Careers requiring a college degree are declining, while there's a huge need for skilled trades and service industry workers. In Las Vegas, the Culinary Academy, a joint venture of casinos and the Culinary Workers Union, trains workers for union positions. Graduates often are hired at the graduation ceremony itself. The Academy graduates 1,500 to 20 students yearly, with more than 80% receiving tuition assistance. The Academy has a 92% job placement rate. They help students with bus passes, SNAP benefits, and other needs. The Academy ensures students complete their courses, knowing there's a good union job waiting for them. The Culinary Academy offers 3 tracks: culinary, food and beverage, and housekeeping. The campus includes a cafe, a full kitchen, an on-site restaurant, and mock hotel rooms for training. The Academy also integrates students with disabilities and helps them excel. Vocational training must consider future job security against automation. Progressives advocate for a $15 minimum wage, but opinions vary. Some believe it destroys entry-level jobs for young people, while others think it's insufficient for living. The real issue is ensuring workers are paid fairly and have opportunities for upward mobility. Trade deals over the past 30 years have sent jobs overseas, benefiting the top 20% and harming the working class. Free trade and the opioid crisis are linked. A 2020 Yale study found that areas exposed negatively to international trade policy experienced an increase in fatal drug overdoses, specifically in the white population. Tariffs can protect jobs. Immigration and job wars. Corey Zetch leans liberal and believes the government should guarantee housing, a view unpopular in her conservative Ohio suburb. However, she aligns with her community on immigration. She feels the American dream is now more accessible to immigrants than native-born Americans. This sentiment is common among working-class people who see immigration as a threat to their economic stability. Educated Americans view illegal immigrants morally as refugees. Working-class Americans empathize with their desperation, but feel frustrated by policies favoring immigrants over their own needs. Kevin Nelson notes that illegal immigration drives down wages, making it hard for businesses like his to pay a living wage. Working-class Americans who compete with immigrants for low-wage jobs see immigration in economic terms, not racial ones. They feel their citizenship should offer them more security and resources. Jamie, the Home Depot manager, expresses similar frustrations, feeling that the American dream should prioritize citizens. Lucia, the Brooklyn Family Dollar worker, feels the government should prioritize helping current citizens over new immigrants. Calissa, the Georgia teacher, supports immigration, believing immigrants take jobs Americans don't want. Skylar Adelta, the Ohio electrician, supports controlled immigration, emphasizing the need for skilled labor. Amy, the Florida nurse's aide, suggests helping immigrants build up their own countries so they don't need to come to the U.S. Working-class Americans feel neglected by both political parties and frustrated by competing for limited resources with immigrants. People in media and politics often say immigrants take jobs Americans don't want. Skylar and Calissa agree, saying Americans haven't faced the desperation many immigrants have. Others felt the issue was poor working conditions, low pay, lack of health care, and no retirement options, not the jobs themselves. Elites think no one wants to clean toilets or pick crops because they see these jobs as humiliating. However, millions of Americans find dignity in this work. The real problem is the poor conditions and low pay. Mass immigration over the past 40 years has made these jobs less secure and less dignified. Undocumented immigrants working for less than minimum wage keep wages low for Americans. Visa programs for skilled workers also create competition. Companies would have to train Americans if they couldn't hire cheaper foreign workers. Elites benefit from immigration, while the working class suffers. In 1970, immigrants were 4.7% of the U.S. population, and working class wages were high. Today, immigrants are 13.7% of the population, and wages have stagnated. Immigrants make up 19% of workers, but 32% of low-wage workers, putting more pressure on lower-income Americans. Though 68% of Americans approve of unions, membership has declined drastically. In the 1950s, 30% of the private sector workforce was unionized. Now it's just 6%. Unions lead to better pay, training, pensions, and job safety, but many workers don't join. Some feel unions limit their growth. Others worry about conflict with management. Some see unions as anti-meritocratic. Historically, unions opposed immigration to protect wages. Now they support it, which many workers see as against their interest. In Europe, sectoral bargaining and labor cooperatives are common. Sectoral bargaining is when standards are set across the board for an industry or occupation. Labor cooperatives are voluntary associations that work with management. Adopting these ideas could help improve conditions across industries. Las Vegas is an example of sectoral bargaining and cooperation, offering good pay, health care, and pensions for service workers. Vegas has a unique employer-employee relationship, with unions and casinos working together. The Culinary Workers Union supports Democrats, but isn't against Republicans who back unions. Weak labor laws and anti-union tactics by big companies are keeping unionization low. Vegas unions show that collective bargaining can secure the American dream for workers. Casinos hire only legal workers, unlike other areas with many undocumented workers who are paid less. Immigration policy affects worker power. More workers mean less power for employees. The post-pandemic labor shortage briefly helped workers, but mass immigration halted these gains. A real border policy and prioritizing American workers' well-being over corporate interests would improve their lives. The benefits cliff. Kevin Nelson and Kevin Harper run a janitorial services company, Quality Cleaning Solutions. Both come from tough backgrounds in Compton and Long Beach and joined the military after high school. They have different views on government benefits. Kevin H. believes in personal responsibility and thinks people should work hard to improve their situations. He feels that those who want to work will find a way, even if they have a criminal record. Kevin N. is more liberal and believes some people need help to get out of bad situations. Kevin H. argues that people should not expect others to save them. He believes that everyone can take accountability and work hard. The debate between the Kevins reflects a broader discussion in working-class homes about government aid. Many working-class Americans feel that while some people genuinely need help, others take advantage of the system. Kevin N. believes that opportunities, not welfare, help people get out of poverty. He sees welfare as a temporary solution, not a cure. Nicole, the Ohio DoorDasher, shares this view, saying that government handouts can make people comfortable and less likely to strive for better opportunities. The benefits cliff is a significant issue. Small raises can result in losing crucial benefits, making it hard for people to advance. While marriage is often economically beneficial, marriage rates have fallen among the working class. Struggling single moms don't want to risk giving up the assistance they need to survive. Doubling the Medicaid threshold would help married couples keep their coverage. In focus groups, working-class Black Americans expressed frustration that full-time work didn't pay compared to receiving government benefits for the poor. Working-class people view health care differently from other entitlements, believing it should be guaranteed by the government. Many support universal health care, but doubt the government's ability to manage it well. Overall, there's a consensus that health care shouldn't be for profit. Housing. The housing market is tough for many working-class Americans. Conservatives suggest poor people move to cheaper areas, while liberals propose government-funded affordable housing. However, these solutions might increase housing prices due to higher demand. Cyrus, a Phoenix truck driver, believes the issue is low wages, not housing supply. He argues that workers should be paid enough to afford housing without subsidies. The housing shortage, partly due to exclusionary zoning and redlining, has made homes unaffordable for many. Zoning laws favor single-family homes, limiting affordable housing options and contributing to the current crisis. Edward Pinto, a senior fellow and director of the Housing Center at the American Enterprise Institute, suggests altering zoning laws to allow more housing units, which would add millions of homes over decades. Light-touch density duplexes and townhouses and three-story homes called triple-deckers would create diverse, affordable housing and help with homelessness. Montana, Vermont, Washington State, and Oregon have already passed light-touch density bills, and Florida and New York are considering it. Pinto's solution aligns with working-class concerns about self-sufficiency and less government interference. The Elusive Dream. Batya Ungar Sargon explored whether working-class Americans still had a fair shot at the American dream by traveling the country and asking them about their lives, incomes, and political views. Most working-class people agreed on needing higher wages, better health care, and fair trade policies. They felt neither political party fully represented their views. They think Republicans protect corporate greed, while Democrats push for more welfare and immigration. This leaves the working class without a true advocate, making the American dream elusive and highlighting the need for a political shift to support their interests.